Geoffrey was with us for only 4 weeks of the 7-week shoot, and you know, the word has somehow gone round that I was inconsolable when he departed, and I'd like to use this opportunity to set the record straight on this matter. It's perfectly true that I had a moment of regret at the departure of a respected colleague, but there was nothing emotionally unstable about it. In fact, the day after, Geoffrey had a date commitment in Australia, so he had to leave us. And the day after he abandoned us to his meaningless play in Australia, I strode onto the set with a huge smile on my face and the air of a man ready to work, and brisk and efficient. And Tom Hooper, I saw him out of the corner of my eye looking at me with an exasperatingly knowing look. And he said, "I feel exactly the same way." And I calmly inquired whether he wanted to get onto the bloody scene. And we had a joyless morning. I strode back to my trailer and binged my Blu-ray copy of Quills. At that moment I saw a strange pair of underpants on the floor of my trailer, and next to it was an unfamiliar pair of socks and pantyhose. And they made a trail towards the bed at the end of the trailer. And then I noticed, to my horror, that there was somebody sleeping in the bed. The blankets were pulled up so that only a tuft of hair was visible. And I approached with trepidation, and I just peeled back the blanket, and I shrieked like a schoolgirl. Because it was Geoffrey. Well, somebody had pasted Geoffrey's face onto a mannequin. So I found this effigy of Geoffrey in my trailer. And this was some clever clonk's idea of grief counselling. I think we thought it would help. And so, never being one to let anything go to waste, I picked him up and I propped him up, sat him up on the opposite little dining table in the trailer. And you know, actually I have to say, he proved a remarkably effective therapist. Over the ensuing weeks, he wasn't quite as animated as I was used to. He was a good listener, and he was cheap. And he had quite a presence. He showed up in the Wembley Stadium crowd scenes. When you get this DVD, you know, if you pause it, you'll see him. And he was among the palace courtiers, and then at a singularly unpleasant moment, I did find him in the cubicle of the men's room on the film set. And then, of course, Helena Bonham Carter showed up, and we forgot all about him. Very muted midnight evening. And Helena was utterly captivating, but she never quite believed it. And I think the words I heard from her most often were, "I know I'm not Geoffrey, but if I could have your full attention just for a moment." And one of the mantras I think I heard from almost everybody on the set was, after I told a particularly hilarious anecdote, where the end came when the moment of laughter should have been. Instead, there was always a wistful silence. When somebody said, "It's just not the same without Geoffrey." Now, we men don't tend to go around confessing our emotions and feelings to each other. Well, I don't anyway. Because these things are personal and private, and so we don't like to do it unless there are thousands of people listening. It's about like being on Jerry Springer. Geoffrey, Colin is here because he has something to say. I may not want to hear it. I have great love and regard for this man, and he has spoiled me completely. All those extraordinary, the intellectual fire and the humanity and the vigor and aversion to cliche and all those tangential qualities and the constant search for truthfulness. Those things that you see in his work, you actually also get in his company. And you've just seen the impact that this man has on the screen. If you can just imagine being in front of that on a daily basis, it really is quite extraordinary. It's like watching close-up magic, except it's not like watching, because you're engaged. It invites you to engage with it, so you are involved with that extraordinary sense of the unexpected and that mercurial intelligence. And, you know, before you know it, you're feeling a strange sensation in the back of your neck, and it's coming up through your toes, traveling up through your body, interfering with your upper abdominals, and coming out of your eyes, ears, nose, and larynx. And before you know it, you have raised your game, and you're doing things you did not think you were capable of. And, you know, he does all that, and then makes you howl with laughter in your spare time. So nobody should have all that, really. And then also get a prize, but that's what we're doing apparently. Of my entire life, and work with this man at your peril. It's an addiction. It gives me the greatest pleasure to award Geoffrey with the Montecito Award.
Sorry, Colin. It's too long a story to go into that. It's a running gag between us. I don't know what to say. I mean, thank you, Santa Barbara. This is, you know, normally when you assume when your life is going to flash before you, as it has tonight, you expect to be in the path of an oncoming bus. But it's been overwhelming. The care of how those tips have been put together, quite an interesting Rorschach ink blot test of what was chosen. Colin, I can't thank you enough. Look, it's almost becoming an embarrassment now of the public declaration of man love. You know, I mean, the film was an extraordinary experience. On one level, we do have some very noble and honest, great people from stuttering associations who are thanking us for the film, for the impact it's made. You know, we have to stop this because the same-sex marriage people are going to be calling us quite soon to represent their cause. I celebrate you don't really expect in your late 50s to encounter such extraordinarily deep friendships out of a working relationship. And I have to honestly say that that did happen in a very major way between Tom and Colin and myself, because the work never felt like work. It was rigorous, and I think we were relatively disciplined. But the amount of good humour and wit and silliness that went on in and around the work was so enjoyable, and I think ultimately leaks through the screen at certain points in the lower undercurrents of the characters. This award is so meaningful to me. I have been honoured in my own country for a career achievement event. This is so special to be honoured this way in California, in America, because this country embraced me so openly and so wholeheartedly 15 years ago, and has continued to do so, and provided many fine opportunities for me to test myself as an actor. It's watching some of those clips, and the focus that you've given me is just kind of daunting, but it's a great, it makes me feel good, because sometimes as an actor, and I read everything, I don't sort of ignore the critics or the blogs or whatever. Occasionally you do get a review that calls your work, it's like cured pig meat. I quite like that, because it's better than hammy, you know. I admire the linguistic skill, but it hurts for an afternoon, and then you wrap up some pumpkin clippings in it. You know, and I'm used to being called that squishy-faced actor or whatever. To be honoured so honestly and sincerely by such a broad array of what I've done and have enjoyed doing, and I want to stick around for a little while. This is a high point this weekend for the trajectory that the King's Speech has gone on in terms of its peer group accolades and the beautiful response of audiences in Australia and the UK and here in the States. The fact that I'm reviving this play from 21 years ago, The Diary of a Man, and going back to my favourite town, New York, where I had the great pleasure of working 2 years ago on Broadway. I don't think it will ever get better than this, to be in the company of Tom, Colin, Helena. To be here with Jane, my wife, my agent of 15 years, my publicist of 13 years. This is as good as it gets, but I want to stick around a little longer and do more work. I just want to see, even be part of an era where we call a moratorium on the use of the word celebrity. I love being an actor. It's what I've always wanted to do. I love the heritage and the history, all 2,400 years of it in the Western world. And I think the obsession with the meaninglessness of certain aspects of celebrity life is kind of ruining us. So I thank you for taking me.
Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a look at one more clip, and then we have a little surprise. So let's go to the screen and take a look at this clip from the King's Speech.
Strictly business. No personal nonsense.
Because I thought I'd made that clear in our interview.
Have you got the shilling you offered? No, I haven't. Didn't think so.
Besides,
You You tricked me. Physical exercises and tricks are important, but what you're asking will only deal with the surface of the problem.
Is that sufficient? No, as far as I see it, my husband has mechanical difficulties with his speech. Maybe just deal with that.
I'm willing to work hard, Dr. Lowe.
Lionel.
Are you willing to do your part?
All right. You want mechanics? We need to relax your jaw muscles, strengthen your tongue. By repeating tongue twisters, for example, I'm a thistle sifter. I have a sieve of sifted thistles and a sieve of unsifted thistles, because I'm a thistle sifter.
Fine.
And you do have a flabby tummy, so we'll need to spend some time strengthening your diaphragm. Simple mechanics.
That's all we ask.
Oh, that's about a shilling to it. Forget about the blessed shilling!
Perhaps on occasion, you might be requested to assist in coping with some minor event. Would that be agreeable?
Of course.
Yes, and that would be the full extent of your services.
Shall I see you next week?
I shall see you every day.
Please welcome Roger Derling.
Good evening, everybody. It's unprecedented in the film festival history. We've never had an Ensemble Award, and Best Ensemble Award, and it's a great honor for me to have Helena Bonham Carter, Geoffrey Rush, Colin Firth of the King's Speech, and we want to honor them with the Best Ensemble of the Year. And who would be better to give them this award than the Directors Guild Award winner, Best Director, Tom Hooper.
Thank you. I must admit, after the roller coaster weekend I've had, it's incredibly relaxing to be presenting an award rather than sitting in the audience. And to be given the opportunity to present the Ensemble Award here is an incredible thrill. And I have to say, there's obviously something about the Santa Barbara Film Festival that's pretty astute, because as I'm sure you all know, they announced this quite a few days before the SAG gave us the ensemble last night, so I don't know what you know up in Santa Barbara, but we're clearly on the money. And I'm here to tell you, this film wasn't only about the love between one man and another man. And it wasn't only about romance and the jealousy of an English queen. We were also joined by the most extraordinary cast, and I promise you that sitting in rehearsal room with this cast was like sitting with the most extraordinary array of British and Australian cinematic and theatrical history. To have Sir Derek Jacobi there, who after all played arguably television's most famous stammerer in I, Claudius, was a huge thrill. And Sir Derek actually warned Colin that he might find the stammer a little infectious, because after playing I, Claudius, it took him 7 or 8 months to get it out of his system, and that is exactly what happened to Colin. 4 weeks into the shoot, he went off to an award show for Single Man, and came back the next morning and said, "I won." I said, "Fantastic." And he said, "And I stammered." And I said, "Fantastic." To be joined by Sir Michael Gambon, there's a lot of knights in our film, unlike 9/11. And Michael was within the original repertory company of the National Theatre, chosen by Laurence Olivier when he was a young man, and spent a year listening to a radio headset smuggled into his suit of armour as he stood silently in a series of Shakespeare productions at the age of 25. But he's come a long way. He was also part of our ensemble. To have the great Claire Bloom, who was Charlie Chaplin's muse in Limelight, and was actually presented to Queen Mary, the very character she played when she was 19 years old, was extraordinary. And then to have Guy Pearce arrive on set, straight off the plane from Australia. And in rehearsal room, when we first read the play, he had nailed the 1930s accent so extraordinarily well that Colin came up to me afterwards and said, Tom. And I said, yes. And he said, he's doing it much better than I am. And I said, I'm afraid you're right. You better put your socks up. And then to reunite Colin with Jennifer Ely, with whom he had an on-screen passion. A few years ago, you might have heard of it, Pride and Prejudice. Timothy Spall, who I last worked with in Down United, as part of my repertory company, as these three are now for the rest of their lives. And then the wonderful children we had in the cast. I mean, it was truly fantastic. So I'm honouring the whole cast tonight. I'm thrilled to present this award, and I'm absolutely delighted that we've got, in the end, the key three here.
So much of his world so far is very interesting, or it might not be interesting at all. But, no, not yet, but you can. I'll give you the, But the whole thing with the award thing, we're so, as everyone knows, anybody in the business, they know that it's not necessarily that merit. It's not just merit, it's having a good performance. But it is a lot to do with time and who you're up against. He's vanishing, isn't he? Jesus, come back here, I'm about to talk to you. Oh, he's got a fly. Jesus, I'll stop talking about him. I was going to say nice things about him.
He's got a play in
Australia.
Australia.
I would say that he should really have the Best Supporting Actress, award. So, if he definitely beat Melissa Leo. So, this is really for, this is the Best Supporting, we're going to make this into Best Supporting Actress for Geoffrey.
You've had enough from me, but thank you everybody. Safe travels, Geoffrey. I thought I would say something funny and brief, and I decided to cast that pledge aside completely and make it very long-winded. But just on our departing travellers' behalf, I would like to thank you all so much, Father, for this. It really has been this wonderful evening, and Geoffrey sends his apologies to you all, because he has a very, very important play to do.